My name is Heydi Lopes. I work with the New York City Bird Alliance leading tours. Most of them are here, and this is my patch, Salt Marsh Nature Center Marine Park. I've also led a trip to Floyd Bennett Field North 40. I also do lead trips for the Brooklyn Bird Club as well. Personally, well, I started birding, I guess seriously maybe around 2008, 2009. I had actually, my sister lives in New Orleans, Louisiana. She bought a house there, and I went to visit, and she had hummingbird feeders set up. So I guess, I thought it was a little dorky, like, what is she doing looking at the birds? But when I saw the hummingbird and this tiny little thing, and like she told me how far they fly and they migrate, I just kind of, it just kind of fascinated me then. And since then, I've kind of just started birding, and really seriously probably around 2009, 2008. And I really haven't stopped since then. Professionally, really, I just help out with the New York City Bird Alliance leading tours. Not a professional birder, but I love doing it. I'm out here every day. Birding sort of forces you to kind of slow down, stop, listen and look and just pay attention to details. And to me, that brings you closer to nature. And I think, there's something powerful about that, because when you start to look at something, get to know it and care about it, then it makes you care about the bigger environment. So I think it definitely, that's part of it for me, and I think it helps open people's eyes to see how everything is connected once you start. Just, again, birds, you slow down, you pay attention, and you realize how everything is connected. Jamaica Bay, during migration, I think they've seen over 300 species. It's got habitat. You have the East Pond, which is a fantastic place for shorebirds, and I'm sure they have the Shorebird Festival every August. Take out with leaders, take people out to see the shorebirds. There was really no better place to see the spectacle of shorebirds, like Jamaica Bay is it. Then you have, the West Pond, which ducks and gulls, and you get some shorebirds too. You have the gardens, which have the warblers and the songbirds. It's just, it has such a great habitat, different habitats, that you can go there and see so many birds. And every time of year, in the fall, you can see the ducks. Shorebird season, you can see the shorebirds, which is late July, early August. Migration in fall and spring, you go to the gardens, you see the warblers.
Nice.
In general, Floyd Bennett is another place I bird a lot. There's been a lot of things that have kind of changed. I don't know if you are aware that there's now this Green Acres farm, which is kind of a permanent sort of petting zoo kind of farm that's been there for a few years. At first it was temporary, so they've kind of taken over the habitat there, which the cricket field now is no longer a cricket field, and that used to be a great place for grassland birds, and especially in the winter and fall, when you would see like Lapland longspurs, snow buntings. The other area there, kind of right across from Aviator, used to be great for sparrows, and that's kind of gone now. So even many years when I first started, there were even shorebirds. I remember one year just kind of sitting in that low grass and looking at a couple of pectoral sandpipers just coming almost right up to you, So those habitats are gone. Also, I've seen a lot less shorebirds. I'm not quite sure why. The runways were also a great spot at Floyd Bennett when it rained. I know they had, they took away that camp that's gone now, but that's where they used to like. But there hasn't been as many shorebirds as I recall in the last couple of years as when I first started. I'm not quite sure why that is, but definitely the other ones are habitat for sure. Well, there's a lot of invasives in the North 40. So the issue, I think, with, as I'm sure you guys are, with invasive plants is that they kind of take away from the ecosystem, and even the berries. There are some invasives that birds will eat, but I know they've done studies where birds, they still choose to eat the native berries, and even though some of the invasive ones are, flower or bloom, the berries come later, the fruits come later, the birds will still rather eat, the native. So it also, a lot of them are of course invasive, and they also choke out the trees and the native vegetation, not just for birds, but the same thing for butterflies. That's kind of the biggest problem with the invasives. The native habitat is just fine, but and some birds do like the porcelain berries. I've seen vireos go after the porcelain berry, and it's fine. But it's just, it takes over everything else, so it chokes out the native vegetation, damages the trees. So in the end, that whole kind of shrubby ecosystem is going to be gone, because you're not going to have that anymore. You're just going to have all of this, the the porcelain taking over everything. It's not just that. The Japanese honeysuckle too smells great, but it's invasive. You know, it kind of chokes everything out, and some of them do damage trees as well. So there's actually yellow warblers do nest in the North 40. They kind of like that shrubby kind of habitat, so tangly stuff. I mean, they usually build their nests, I would say, probably around 10 feet, but also, you know, kind of tucked in the shrubs. They don't want to be out in the open. It's a pretty common breeder there. There's been other, hard to find the nest though. I haven't found a nest. Red stars sometimes breed there. I did find a nest of an American red star a few years ago, but I would say definitely yellow warblers, most common yellowthroats breed there. Those are fairly common.
Right.
I mean, I think it's the same thing we talked about with non-native plants. You know, it's kind of some, especially for migratory birds. Yellow warblers, you know, I think since they breed there, but I think eventually it's going to kind of choke out their habitat if it keeps going. And you know, climate change as well has something to do with that. That's just going to. The North 40 is not that well signed, which is, I think, kind of makes it hard for someone who hasn't been there to know where to go. So the easiest thing I would say is once you get into Floyd Bennett Field, which now you have to only enter through the main entrance, which is all the way right before the bridge, and then just kind of go down the runway. If you're in a car, you just kind of take a left, go there, and then you will park in the aviator lot, and then just kind of walk across that lot, walk either on the outside or on the sidewalk where the farm is. Sometimes you have to be careful though, because they will not let you walk through there. You're not supposed to. I mean, you can get through. There's concrete barrier because they have their, I guess, equipment on that side, and they don't want you kind of walking through there, but you can also walk on the other side and then go in the gate there. And once you get there, just kind of keep walking towards where all the trees are, past the cricket field, and get there, you make a right, you will go into return a gift pond. And then you just kind of be careful where you're going, and just, you know, these days, it's, if you look at your phone, I think we've talked about it, it's not that well signed, but if you look at your phone, you can kind of see where the trails are. So I would just kind of say, look at your phone, be aware where you are. You won't get lost, but at least you know where you are.